So, in the comments of our videos and our live streams, I get one question very, very often when we talk about a very specific player, and that is Dameon Pierce. The question I get asked is, why do you hate Dameon Pierce? Okay, you can see I only looked through a couple of the comments for you guys today on some of our videos. Someone says, I don't get why everyone hates Pierce. He's number 3 back on a lot of people's draft board, top 5 in broken tackles, which is a predictive stat year on year. Someone else says, Dameon Pierce leads the league in broken tackles for a reason. He's not replaceable. Laugh my ass off. He's a clear 3rd best back in this class. Dang, you guys are low on Pierce. And then someone else told me, the Dameon Pierce disrespect goes crazy. He looks amazing so far and underrated out of college. I would give up a 23 first for him, but you saying you hated him as a prospect is kind of wild to me. Which in one of the videos a couple months ago, I said I didn't like him as a prospect. He wasn't my favorite prospect. I didn't say I hated him. To which I replied, should I say that I liked him? Like, do you guys want me to lie to you and just pretend like I liked him and jump on the train? Or should I be realistic with the community about what I saw when I scouted him? To the reply I got was, not saying you should lie, but getting some glasses is an option. So, what can you do? But look, in case it needs to be clarified, I do not hate Dameon Pierce. And the off chance that he watches this video, of course I don't hate you, Dameon Pierce. I respect every player who makes it to the NFL. What a journey he's been on. And I have nothing but respect for what he's done so far. However, I do believe that the Dynasty football community has him ranked too high when we consider some historical trends. So what I'm going to do in this video is explain to you why I think Dameon Pierce is ranked too high and what I would do if I owned Dameon Pierce in Dynasty football. So do me a favor, drop a like, subscribe if you like the content, and comment down below if you are all in on Dameon Pierce and why, or if you are out on Dameon Pierce and why. Okay, firstly, some of you guys, I feel, get a little too caught up on specific stats with guys like Dameon Pierce, and we tend to ignore historical trends that are, for the most part, undefeated, okay? Pierce has had a great season. Let's review it at the time of me recording this video, all right? 2022 Dameon Pierce, drafted in the 4th round of the 2022 NFL Draft. He's currently 9th in rush yards, 19th in yards per carry, and every time I say yards per carry, I'm only considering running backs who have a minimum of 100 rushing attempts, because outside of that, I mean, it's just not all that accurate, or a good representation rather. 8th in rushes over 20 yards, so he's had, you know, good opportunities and he's capitalized on those, including lots of long runs. He's currently 2nd in broken tackles, right behind Derrick Henry, and he's the RB18 in fantasy football. A very, very good season so far. No one can take that away from him, not even me. You know what's funny is we started off the year on Dynasty and we made a video right after the draft, literally right after the draft, and it was called Instant Workload Rookies. And the player I brought up was Dameon Pierce. But then from that point in May to the draft, the hype just got a little bit too high for me. So I was actually a fan of Dameon Pierce, as crazy as that sounds, regardless. But as good as the season Dameon Pierce has had, I would like to remind us of about 6 to 8 other running backs who had similar draft capital, and performed just as well as Dameon Pierce, including the eye test. And let's not forget how people were absolutely obsessed with these players at the time, but it didn't necessarily have a good ending, okay? How about 2016 Jordan Howard? Drafted in the 5th round of 2016. That year in 2016, 2nd in rush yards, 4th in yards per carry, 3rd in rushes over 20 yards, 16th in broken tackles, was the RB10 in fantasy football. Damn, he had a great start to his career. Did he get a long-term deal with the team that drafted him? No. He was traded to Philly, and he's currently unsigned, okay? How about 2016 Jay Ajayi, who was actually drafted in 2015, the year before, but in 2016, Jay Ajayi, 4th in rush yards, 8th in yards per carry, 4th in rushes over 20 yards, 1st in broken tackles. I mean, how many stats do you want me to throw out to say that he had a very good year? And of course, the eye test as well passed for Jay Ajayi, RB11 in fantasy football. Did Jay Ajayi get a long-term deal with his team that drafted him? Nope. He was traded to Philly. Of course, Philly keeps trading for these guys, and he's currently unsigned. All right, how about 2018 Philip Lindsay, who, yes, was undrafted, but keep in mind, in 2018, 9th in rush yards, 2nd in yards per carry, 4th in rushes over 30 yards, was the RB13 in fantasy football. Did he get a long-term deal with the team that drafted him? Well, undrafted. So with the team that signed him as an undrafted free agent? No. He has bounced from the Texans to the Dolphins, and most recently was released by the Colts. How about 2020 James Robinson? James Robinson was so good for fantasy football in 2020. Undrafted, signed with the Jags, waiver wire pickup of the year, 6th in rush yards, 22nd in yards per carry, 5th in rushes over 10 yards, 12th in broken tackles, the RB7 on the year, and he also was 9th in receptions amongst running backs. Did he get a long-term deal with his team? No. As we know, he was just traded to the Jets, but also after that year where he put up amazing numbers, what did the Jags do? Right after that year, they went and drafted a running back in the 1st round named Travis Etienne. Draft capital matters, guys. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Draft capital matters. How about 2020 Antonio Gibson, right? I was a huge fan of Antonio Gibson. I'm a Washington fan, as much as I don't like to tell people that. Drafted in the 3rd round of 2020 draft. That year, 18th in rush yards, 15th in yards per carry, 15th in rushes over 20 yards, 7th in broken tackles, 7th in rushing touchdowns, RB14 on the year. Long-term deal with his team. By the way, all that while missing 2 games. Well, we don't know if he's going to get a long-term deal with Washington. But what we do know is that they just drafted Brian Robinson in the 3rd round, okay? After most of us have been in love with Antonio Gibson before that draft pick. How about 2021? Most recently, Elijah Mitchell. Drafted in the 6th round last year. Oh my God, this guy's the future of the team. He looks incredible, great speed. He's basically Raheem Mostert if Raheem Mostert was young and uninjured, right? Last year, 2021, 8th in rush yards, 10th in yards per carry, 4th in rushes over 10 yards, 12th in broken tackles, RB26 while missing 5 games. Long-term deal with the Niners? Unknown. We don't know. But they also just traded for CMC. Again, we are seeing trend over trend over trend of players who, the eye test, they look incredible. And then you can point to these stats where, I mean, look at how good they've been doing. But at the end of the day, what was the investment these teams made in these players? And if the investment is not there, historically, we have seen, outside of maybe Aaron Jones, you can point to, that teams typically don't prioritize running backs long term. And we also know historically that if a running back is traded or they move teams, they are typically not prioritized the way that they were by the team who invested in them. If you want some other examples who played well and were drafted in the 3rd round or later, who ended up being replaced, traded away from their teams or not given long-term deals, how about Kenyon Drake in 2016? He played incredibly. Dolphins, then traded him to the Cardinals. Played incredibly on the Cardinals. Then he got signed by the Raiders, and now he's on the Ravens. Most recently, we had Michael Carter, who had a great 2021 year. Maybe not the production that you would want, but then right after that, the team drafted Breece Hall. And I remember us talking about Breece Hall, and I said, I think the Jets would be an incredible landing spot for him. People were like, what do you mean they have Michael Carter? Well, what draft capital did they spend on Michael Carter? We need to learn to not value running backs with this kind of commitment from a team in drafts the way we have been, okay? And at the time of recording this, at the time of preparing for this, Dameon Pierce was the running back 9 in Dynasty football. And I'm going to tell you the type of deals I think you should be looking for. And this is just a random side note, this has nothing to do with Dameon Pierce, but this is also why I have a lot of troubles evaluating Ramondre Stevenson's draft capital or his dynasty value, rather, excuse me, is because he was drafted in the 4th round of the 2021 draft. How does he fit into this scenario? And he's in an even worse situation because we know the history of Bill Belichick and how he utilizes a running back room. So anyway, just another random side note. I find it really difficult to know how to rank Ramondre Stevenson. All right, the second thing we're going to talk about here is the running back landscape as a whole. It is about to be completely flipped on its head, guys, and Dameon Pierce will be impacted by this. Let's look at I'm only going to put you 10. I'm only going to tell you 10 of the rookie running backs that I like coming into this year's class. Okay. They're not all in the same tier. They're not all elite, but there's a lot of good running backs in this year's class. Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sean Tucker, Zach Charbonnet, Blake Corum, Condre Miller, Chase Brown, Devin Akane, Tank Bigsby. To be honest, I personally don't believe that Dameon Pierce is a better prospect. I'm not saying he's a worse prospect. He's certainly not a better prospect than Bijan Robinson. He's certainly not a better prospect than Jahmyr Gibbs or Zach Evans in my mind. But I don't think he's any better a prospect than Tucker, Charbonnet, Corum, Miller. He might be as good. I'm not saying he's worse. And that's only the rookies coming in, okay? How about free agent running backs this offseason? Well, you got Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, Tony Pollard, David Montgomery, Devin Singletary, Damian Harris, Kareem Hunt, Rashad Penny, Jamal Williams, Deontay Foreman, Jeff Wilson, James Robinson, Darrell Henderson. That's only 14 of the many, many running backs that are going to be free agents. So I want you to ask yourself, you can hate me for just telling you how I feel. That's fine if you're a Dameon Pierce truther. But genuinely ask yourself, what is Dameon Pierce surviving off of right now? And is that something that's going to continue into the future? Well, the offense certainly isn't good. He's surviving, in my opinion, off of opportunities. He is currently 5th in rushing attempts this year, only behind Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, and Nick Chubb. He's currently 16th in running back targets. More targets than Najee Harris, Jonathan Taylor, James Conner, Travis Etienne, Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, and more. So what happens to Dameon Pierce's value? What happens to his production, to his opportunities, if a Bijan Robinson, a Jahmyr Gibbs, Zach Evans, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, David Montgomery, Sean Tucker, name a running back that could change teams? What happens to his opportunities and his production if one of those guys joins him in the backfield next year in 2023? There are at minimum 24 impact running backs who could find new teams next year. Do you anticipate Dameon Pierce not getting any competition back there? Keeping in mind that his current competition is Rex Burkhead and Dare Ogunbowale. Of course he's dominating. Who are they going to give the ball to? Okay, and the last thing I'm going to do on this video is tell you what I would do if I owned him. Like I said, when I was prepping for this video, he was a RB9. Today, he stands as a RB14 at the day of recording. He had a couple bad games and people move him down 5 spots. I mean, if you guys don't think the Dynasty community is reactive and perception isn't their reality, we see it every couple weeks. People change their mind on players. So let me tell you about some of the trades I would do. I would be looking to move Dameon Pierce for the following trades, okay? If I can move Pierce away and get the following, I would do it. Any first round pick in 23 or 2024. If I get a first round pick in the 23 class, I'm happy. If I can get a first pick in the 24 class, I'm happy. I can get a really good quarterback. I can get a running back who's probably drafted in the 2nd round or maybe even higher, depending on how stacked that class is. I love the 24 class as well. Can I get Jameson Williams, Treylon Burks, Drake London, Deebo Samuel, DeAndre Swift, Christian Watson, Hollywood Brown? These guys who have much higher draft capital and who I think their athletic profile suits a little bit better to a long-term asset. How about Rachaad White and a second? Rachaad White and Dameon Pierce, in my opinion, should not be ranked all that differently. Okay, both in scenarios where they're stepping in to be the RB1 of their team, both similar draft capital, just one has Tom Brady right now, okay? How about, can I get Amari Cooper and a second if I'm competing and I need a wide receiver? Amari Cooper's about to get Deshaun Watson coming back. Look, you might be watching this and saying you wouldn't make these trades, but that doesn't mean that the people in your leagues have that same perspective. And according to the community, these are all fair offers that I just threw out. So these are just some ideas. And how about some real deals that I've seen in our Discord? I wanted to show you guys some real trades that have gone down in our Discord, which has over 920 people. And by the way, I only looked for about 2 minutes. I could have found many more, but okay. So in one of these deals, someone sent Dameon Pierce, Elijah Moore, and Jelani Woods. They got Treylon Burks in a first. Are you kidding me? I'll take the Treylon side all day. Someone got Jameson Williams in 2 seconds. Give me Jameson. Someone got Jameson straight up. I'll take Jameson straight up. Someone was able to get 2 firsts for Dameon and DJ. I'll do that in a heartbeat. Someone was able to get a first and a second. I'll do that in a heartbeat. Someone was able to get 2 firsts. Oh, well, that's just the same trade. My bad. You guys have seen that already. Someone was able to get a first and a second for Dameon Pierce and a 4th. I'll do that. And another trade that I've seen in one of our leagues is where someone got Garrett Wilson a first for Mike Williams, Dameon Pierce, and a second. So these are all real trades that have happened. You can't now tell me that these are unrealistic. You can't now tell me that people aren't going to make these trades because we see them every week. And in fact, 2 weeks ago, you probably would have gotten even more for Dameon Pierce. Right now, if you can get these deals done, do them. But keep in mind, guys, I don't know if you have a trade deadline or not. It shouldn't be a surprise that Dameon Pierce struggled these last 2 weeks. Okay. Washington has a fantastic defensive line, maybe top 5 in the NFL. Okay. That was week 11. And the game script completely wrote him off. Last week in week 12, he was my sit of the week on our redraft channel. And that was mainly because of the game script. Miami's going to dominate. They're going to put up big points and Dameon Pierce is going to be out of it. But upcoming, you have the Browns, which we don't know what's going to happen with the Browns. But if you can trade him after this Browns game where I think he's going to have a good game, that would be the time to do it. Then he goes Dallas, Kansas City, Tennessee, Jacksonville. So there's a couple good matchups upcoming. I think he could have a really good game this week, but it depends on when your trade deadline is or if you have a trade deadline. So this is why I believe Dameon Pierce is ranked too high in Dynasty. Do I hate Dameon Pierce? No, of course. That's ridiculous. Of course I don't hate Dameon Pierce. I was actually all aboard Dameon Pierce after the draft. I brought him to you guys as someone who was going to dominate as a rookie. But then the hype got to the point where I'm like, we have him ranked inside our top 10 for Dynasty running backs. People would rather have Dameon Pierce and DeAndre Swift. And I know that's a different conversation entirely. So this is why I feel the way I feel. I don't hate him at all. I don't hate anyone. I just think that he is a little bit too high in most people's rankings. So, and I would take advantage of that if I were you guys. So my advice, make some trades, see what you can do, target those teams who are trying to win now. And best of luck. Comment down below if you understand where I'm coming from. If you agree, you disagree, do it respectfully, of course. We welcome differences of opinion. Like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you in a future one. Huge love.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/fantasylandfam.